Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Anecdotal Economist, and it's funny, I knew I wanted to come down here and make a video, but I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to make it about. There were so many different things to talk about. I had just made a video on, buying 1 gram gold. Let's take that out while we're talking here. Move my microphone line out of the way. But I've decided to talk about fractional again, but in a little bit of a different perspective, because I've noticed a lot of people are talking about it, and I've been thinking about it for a while now. It's like, does fractional actually make sense? Are we at that point where it's like, yeah, you need to start considering buying fractional because gold's just going to get so expensive that nobody will be able to afford an ounce anymore? I mean, is that where we're at? And that's the question I want to answer today in this video. See, if gold goes to, so let's say $10,000, right? And the reason I use $10,000 is that is a level for a number of reasons. You think of tax considerations, reporting considerations, capital gains, all these different things. $10,000 is a number that actually means something. It means that it's going to be unobtainable for most people. Now, the argument against that is like, well, if gold goes to $10,000, inflation is going to be so bad that everything's going to be expensive and you'll still be able to afford it. And the problem with that thought process is that you're basically assuming that wage growth is going to keep up with inflation. And while I believe that's going to be true in a lot of sectors, it definitely will not be true in all sectors. And the distortions that you would see with that kind of inflation would be around things that become priorities. So food is always going to be one of the first things to go up in price in a highly inflationary value environment, because that's what people are going to spend their savings on. It could also be housing. It could be a number of different assets. And depending on what happens with the US dollar, etc., gold is certainly one of those things, and silver, that could accelerate in price quickly, most likely faster than your wages. So what am I saying? I'm saying if I was to purchase a gold 1 ounce coin in a, let's say, it doesn't have to be hyperinflation, but highly inflationary environment, say 20% like we had nearly in the 70s, what does that actually mean? And I guess what I'm saying is I suspect that even though incomes will still go up to try to keep up with inflation, gold will not be a priority. You'll have less disposable income as a percentage. That's not a guarantee. It's a suspicion backed up by historical evidence. I'm not going to go through that right now. Look it up for yourself. I could be right or I could be wrong. But I've made a few videos on fractional, and I'm going to say this again. I really think fractional, like these, 1 gram maples here, is going to start to make sense. I think that despite the premiums, people just won't be able to afford a 1 ounce coin anymore. And there's one more reason that this could be true that I didn't mention yet. The other reason is what happens when gold becomes quote unquote mainstream. I don't know. I know I've looked at the numbers before. I don't know what percentage it is of people that are buying 1 ounce gold coins, right? Or buying gold in general. We're going to talk about silver in a minute. I think it's significantly less than 1% of the population. And that's just anecdotally, if I look at all the people I know, virtually nobody is buying gold. If we get into a situation where the retail market decides, you know what, I want to buy gold. I've decided that's a good investment. I'm worried, whatever, and everybody's buying it. We've seen what happens to premiums, right? They go crazy because the mints can't keep up. And so my suspicion is we'll get to a point where a 1 ounce will just become impossible to get. The mints will just literally not be able to get enough gold or not be able to get enough blanks. And if we get into that scenario in a sustained time period, so not like a few years ago where it was, 6 months, but if it's like years of that, then what you would see, I suspect, is a shift to half ounces, quarter ounces, 10th ounces, maybe grams. I don't know. I don't know that would happen, but I could see a scenario where it did. Does that make sense? I could see that scenario. And so now I'm starting to ask myself, well, what do I do, right? What do I buy half ounces? Do I buy quarter ounces, 10th ounces? Like, what is the new, or well, not what is, but what will become the new 1 ounce if that situation occurs. I'm not saying it will occur. There's no guarantee, of course. But I'm saying if it occurs, if we get into a scenario where a large portion of the world's population, or at least the US population, starts to buy gold, 1 ounces will become very difficult to find and very difficult to afford very quickly. So what's the optimal size? And I guess, this is all just speculation. I would say quarter ounce makes the most sense to me. I had initially thought half ounce, but I just don't like half ounce coins. I don't know why. It's just like when I put it in my hand, I don't like it. So this is not based off science. It's not based off data. It's like, what size is my favorite? And for me, it's a quarter ounce. I think a lot of other people would be the same. And now let's use some math to back that up, because this is where silver comes in. At what point do we just start buying silver, right? Like if a 1 ounce silver coin, I understand they carry premiums. I believe silver premiums will come down as the price goes up. So if silver gets to $50 to $100 an ounce, I don't think we're going to be seeing 20% premiums, unless the market's crazy, of course. Whatever. That's a topic for another day. My point is, at what point would you rather have 1 ounce of silver versus, say a gram of gold? Now, this gram of gold is probably market value something like $110 plus a premium, so maybe $125. This 1 ounce silver would have to go up, 4 times, 400% to catch up. I don't necessarily think it's going to do that. And if it did, say silver went up 400%, gold would have to go up, I would assume, some percentage as well. So I just don't see that scenario happening where they're equal. But at a certain point, it's just like, well, I'll just buy silver instead of gold. So this is just a weird, sort of a rambling conversation. Bear with me. Am I making sense? Do you guys follow what I'm saying? It's like, where is the trade-off? At what point do we pick up silver instead of fractional gold? It's a complicated question, and it's something I think is fun to start thinking about. It's not imminent, but I could see a scenario where 5 years from now, we're like actively having the debate of like, well, maybe we just buy silver. Right? Maybe silver is more practical to trade. I don't know. I could see it. I could see a world where that happens. What are your thoughts? Throw me some stuff in the comments, boys. What's the wisdom, man? I'm so hot. I'm steaming up my cases. Good thing these are in capsules. So I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't think it's possible to have an answer. I think all you can do is ask questions of like, well, what are the possible scenarios? If China really does keep growing, I think they will slow down now that they've turned back to communism. But if they do continue to grow like they have been, and they decide, silver makes sense for our population, silver could really do well. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. So I guess what I'm saying is, I'm still actively trying to buy 1 ounce coins, but at $2,600, well, I think, or more like $2,700 with the premiums, $2,700 an ounce. Can anyone say that's really a good idea at this point? I mean, really, it's an insane amount to pay. I mean, that's not just a mortgage payment. That's like 2 mortgage. It depends what your house costs you, of course, but that's a lot. That is a lot for the average person. I am thinking if I can get deals on quarter ounces, that's going to be the way I go moving forward. Like, stretch this out 5 years. For me, buying, 4 ounces a year in 1 ounce increments is very painful. Not saying from time to time I'll do it, right? I'll get a bonus, or I'll sell something, sell a vehicle or whatever. Something happens and I have some spare cash, and okay, yeah, I'll buy 1 ounce. I think I'm going to be down to quarter ounces now. I think that's what I can afford. I know just from YouTube videos, but in general, I know I'm not the only person, because I know what I make. I know what the average American makes. And if I can't afford to buy 1 ounces, I don't think there's a lot of people who can. We're talking about a very small percentage of the population. So have I rambled enough yet? Are you guys enjoying the coin show here? I hope so. I'm trying to show some fun pieces. I think I'm going to wrap that up, guys. I really just put this out because I wanted to get opinions on who's doing what, who's buying what. What is the threshold on gold? And yeah, I'm gonna upload this. I hope my sound was a little bit better. I had some issues with my microphone the other day. I don't know why, so I've switched to a different one, and I've got some background noise because of the kids. So we're filtering that out digitally, and not ideal. I'm not. I don't have a professional grade soundboard. I think one last thing we're gonna do before we wrap this video up, I always like to do a coin review. I'm gonna open up this Germania Mint coin. One cool thing about Germania that I like is they do have the capsule that is like a magnifying glass. So it's actually like it looks a little different. When I pull the capsule off, you'll be able to tell. And I find it funny how cameras just have such a hard time with the reflections on the plastic. But you take the plastic off, and they are suddenly like, even though silver's shinier, they seem to just not have as much of an issue. And I've got to say, that's a pretty stellar looking coin. I don't know if I'm going to keep collecting these. I have the 10 ounce. These are the allegory coins. Does it say allegory there? Fine silver, 999 fine silver allegories. I don't know if I'm going to keep collecting these or not. I thought my original thing that I was going to do was get one allegory of each size. So there's 1 ounce, 2 ounce, etc. And then put them up on a display. I thought that'd be fun, but I don't know if I'm really into the allegories or not. I don't know if this is more of a European thing. I just think Germania does such a good job. I really enjoy their coins in general. Don't know if this is going to be the series that I stick with. But I guess I'm turning into a collector. There it is. I hope you guys like this coin. I would say if you like the design, this is a very cool series because they seem to continue to produce them, which means, and they produce them on limited mintages, which means they're going to hold their value, which I really appreciate. And they're honestly not that crazy. They are in the aftermarket. If you try to buy these aftermarket on eBay, they go up substantially. But I mean, when you buy them initially, I think this was double spot. Understand that's very expensive for, a silver coin. But I really don't have any worries that it's going to lose value. Maybe in the short term, if the market really drops and nobody can afford anything anymore, then at least you got your silver value. But long term, if they keep extending this series out, then I think it's worth it. This is, you think it would say on the coin. It's allegories, so one of those is Germania. I should know which. I don't know which. Probably the one on the right. She looks familiar. I think the one on the right is Germania. The one on the left, she's got a spear. Who are we talking about here? Let's flip this sucker over. Austria. Should have saw that coming. Austrian Germania. You can see limited mintage, 25,000 pieces. Not hyper rare. The fancier ones are hyper rare. So this is Austria. Every year they come out with a new country. And I'm not sure how they decide what the countries are going to be. But Germania is always featured on the coin, and then they have, so in this case it's Austria. There's probably some backstory there. Austria with a spear. I don't know what it is. Like Britannia was very obvious to me because everybody's seen the Britannia coin. These are fun to collect, and I hope you guys enjoyed my rant today. If you did, just throw me a little comment. Maybe type Austria in the comments so I know that you made it this far. And yeah, appreciate you all joining me. Love to hear what you guys think. I'm going to keep making these rants as long as I feel like it. And when the price of gold is up, I do feel like it. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you.